welcome to this edition, the 25th of June, the HodlFire session. Cool. We were just teaching a bunch of new students all around buy and sell tags. Funny enough, and how we actually incorporate them into the HodlFire and part of the HodlFire strategy. Nice to see some of the stalwarts here. Hello, G. Cool. And hopefully this is going to give you guys some insights as to the kind of things you will encounter when you're trading with a HodlFire, because it's so easy to backtest and looking like, oh yeah, you would have done this, right? But you don't see the temporary tops that come in, or the temporary bottoms, and that kind of thing. So we're gonna show you a movie of sorts, but it's not a movie. We're not playing a video. We're not lazy like that. This is a video in a video. But we are going to be showing you how some of the trades would have played out, and I called fun on Monday. I'd actually seen it running over the weekend, but I wasn't around to do anything about it. And there are a few other coins, actually. I looked at Tut. Tut was interesting 2-3 days ago, and a few others. And what we might do is, well, if you guys want to, this is your show, is if there are any coins that you'd like us to look at for you and you're unsure about, please ask us. That's what we're here for. Otherwise, we can just waffle on for the next 55 minutes. No, we're not. We're going to try and help and educate and share some things. She's muted. I muted her, so I can't hear what she's saying. So we're going to have a look at a few things. Let's have a quick look at what Bitcoin dominance is doing, Bitcoin itself, and then we're going to have some fun. I mean, go through fun. But yeah. So we'll have a look at that. If you guys are alive, drop in an emoji reaction right now. No, one person's alive. That's great. There are a bunch more of you. Come on. All right. Thank you. Thank you. That's even better. I'm not a big fan of thumbs up, but that's as good as a wave as anything's going to happen. All right. So let's have a quick look at Bitcoin dominance before we dive into some of these other interesting ones. And I might, if you guys are lucky, if you ask nicely, I'll show you a couple of coins that I'm currently looking at in terms of potential trades on the higher time frames using the HodlFire. Cool. So let's get into it briefly. Please make use of the Q&A section down the bottom. Whatever it might be, we don't mind. All right, let's go. So this is a Bitcoin on the day on Binance. And despite the semi-declaration of war, or at least the US's involvement with that, we saw a bit of a drop. All right, first time Bitcoin had dropped down below 100,000 in 40 odd days. Caressed 98,200, 98,300, depending on the exchange that you're on, and it came down to that point. Now, again, for those of you who've got the Hodlnots indicator, you wouldn't have been too worried or too freaked out because you would have seen a bunch of support. All right, more on that on the next course. But what we did see was a drop and a temporary bottom at the moment, and just hiding behind there, there's a little buy tag. Now, there's been some debate around this, and we will still investigate this further. But we talk about like how the pivot bottom comes in, and then the buy tag, again, there it is, serves as a confirmation. Now, some of you might have realized and noticed that oftentimes the buy tag will come in, and then the pivot tag gets printed a day or two later. Is it the chicken or the egg that came first? Is it the 1 minute time frame that influences the day, or is it the day that influences the 1 minute time frame? Good questions for eggs and chickens. But either way, we know that for those of you who've done the course as well, with the buy tag, when you get a normal buy tag on whatever time frame, is that the conditions are changing to become more favorable. When you get a sell tag, conditions are changing to become less favorable, i.e. detrimental or not so great. So sometimes you get the buy tag and then followed by the sell tag. I mean, well, that's also true. Sometimes you get the buy tag followed then by the pivots, and the pivot will sometimes print after the sell tag. I mean, or the buy tag over here, maybe. It does happen. But either way, and we'll get into a little bit more on that when we do a live replay of candles playing out on the 1 hour for fun that we spoke about as a little teaser. So just FYI. At the moment, Bitcoin is looking fairly positive, would you say? Yeah. All right. Again, bring this back. All right. There's a certain area that we're still in. We are not all doom and gloom at the moment. We have found a pivot bottom with a buy tag. A trend is starting to shift. And with it, there's been a bit of respite. We are seeing some of these alts moving, but all these alts moving really because they're tied at the hip with old Bitcoin, or is it perhaps to do with something happening with Bitcoin dominance? All right, so the last 2 days, we saw a bit of a drop and we saw some respite at least, but we're still high up in the 60s. Deep 65%. We've been up, feels like we've been up here forever. Okay, we're still above 60. It's been above 60. Um, geez, for some time. All right. Only back here did we really drop down below. So it meaning that yes, all the focus has been in Bitcoin since Feb. With this talk about tariffs, there was talk about a lot of scary stuff, and people were like, "Ooh, Bitcoin's becoming the safe haven like gold is, and silver, and some stocks and whatever." And so, with a lot of the ETFs, etc., the Bitcoin dominance, the amount of money flowing into crypto has been really Bitcoin heavy. But at the moment, there is a temporary pivot top. No sell tag confirming perhaps that there is a shift in the trend, but at the moment, it's 65.95% of the crypto market. That is seemingly a bit of a top. All right, we're getting a couple of tops up top here. Will we see a sell tag to confirm that coming down? Or we're going to see this continue going sideways, which means it's going to continue to stifle all of these altcoins. Time will only tell. Guys, stop buying Bitcoin. Start selling. All right. No, I can't. Well, Bitcoin maxis, right? Right. But this is just a bit of a weather forecast as to what is kind of happening. And once we start seeing this kind of cascade, we know that there's a bit of a reprieve, a bit of a release for the alts, and they generally tend to run when this happens. So we're all waiting for this, especially on the day, to run. But again, for those of you who are trading on the lower time frames, keeping an eye on Bitcoin dominance. This is obviously just a scrunchy version, but when you start to see that there's a nice little bit of a cascade like this, so this was Monday, my 6 o'clock, 4 p.m. UTC, and it ran down and down and down, and over the space of almost 12 hours, Bitcoin dominance came down for a bit, which meant that the altcoins were running over those periods, which meant that you could have been in some nice HodlFire trades over those couple of hours as well. So let's see if this brings in a little bit of respite over the next little while. Right, we need to see this dropping down. Anybody have any questions about Bitcoin dominance while we're here? We had one or two good questions before around this. I'll keep an eye over here in terms of any questions that might pop up, but please do ask. All right, same with any coins you might be looking at. Cool. Then let's get into our little look at fun, and then if there's time, I'll look at some of these other coins for you guys. Now, what we've spoken about a number of times is that we're looking for coins. Ultimately, we're looking for coins where we find that the candle action is above the 200 on the day. Now, we know that Bitcoin is, we know there are one or two others that currently are in that situation, but 98% of the altcoins are not in that situation. And it goes from everything from Ethereum to Solana to Ripple to all the way down. I mean, a lot of coins are really at bargain prices at, Theta and T-Fuel and Gala, and although WIF is starting to shape around, so just keep an eye on there, but Jasmine and a bunch of others. What we're looking for are coins that are starting to look like this. All right. And now, a couple of days ago, and this was Thursday last week, Friday, things started to shape up. Here was what I said, hey guys, we're in a strong uptrend on the day, the last couple of days for fun. And in theory, I'll just take it from the 200 just as a base value. I can't even go, it's out of my screen, but it ran more than 200% over 4 days or 5 days or whatever it was. There it is. So thereabouts. Okay, again, we're never going to get out really at the top. I mean, that's a bit of a nice round number, but still, that ran nicely. Now, again, we can go back on the 1 hour and be like, yes, you would have got in here, you would have gotten out here, blah, blah, blah. All right. That was Thursday. All right, thereabouts Thursday, and we're like, oh yeah, you would have gotten in here because it broke past that value, and you got an out here because it was a sell tag, and then you bought in, and then what? It doesn't work like that, right? Because you see a whole bunch of temporary bottoms and tops that come in, and it's confusing. And where do you take your profit? What we're going to do is we're going to play this back in real time. Well, past tense in our real time. Okay. And we're going to go back to where this could be any coin, ladies and gents, and we're just going to hide that just to simulate. We're going to say that you're looking for a coin, any coin, where the candles are looking to break up over that 200 on the day at least. And why? Because the day, without getting too technical about the 3 day in the week, let's not get there. But for the moment, the day presents the strongest trend in terms of potential resistance and or support. We want to know that at least the day isn't an issue anymore. So if we go back and have a look at Friday, Thursday, where things are starting to shape up, we're going to go and have a look down the time frames as to how things were looking at that time when you might have noticed fun on the day. And again, we're using normal candles, but I mean, again, you could be looking at Heikin-Ashi candles, because again, we teach that for a reason. The Thursday is starting to cross up over, maybe Friday for confirmation. Either way, I'm going to switch back. Be able to say, all right, John, I found a coin where the candle has tested the 200 as support and it's currently in that situation. Is it good to go? All right, so we're gonna start looking at the buildup of that because it started crossing over, and this is where some of you might have found coins that are starting to cross up over on the day. Let me just blow that up a little. Sorry, I know some of you are difficult to see clearly. All right, it's starting to cross up over, and maybe you would have been like, "Ooh, this coin's starting to get an uptrend on the day. Is it potential on the 1 hour to trade?" And I choose the 1 hour all the time as example because hey, it plays a little quicker and suitable for me in my trading. I know a couple of you on the call as well also like trading on the 1 hour. And we're going to look at this from an example as to when it might have started shaping up. So what we're going to do, and you guys can also look at this as examples if you want to learn more about trades and how things might have actually played out. And you can do the same thing. Obviously, all have paid versions of TradingView. And what you can do is we're going to go back to Thursday, like normal human time. I'm not going to look at 1 o'clock in the morning. And again, this is based in my time zone. If you want, I'll give you the UTC times for those of you in different countries. And it will play out differently, obviously, because sometimes you'll be asleep and I'll be awake and vice versa. But say I had opened my charts and I was looking for HodlFire trades and I noticed that here, let's go here. All right. Here on the 1 hour, I've seen the candles broken up above. Sure, work up the time frames, but I would have seen then that on the day, there it is. Okay. On the day, the candle was trying to break up over that 200. I'm like, okay, cool. I know it's dealing with issues over there, but the 1 hour is looking pretty good in terms of it's getting there. What was the 2 hour looking like? Again, just in terms of where candles were at that time, the 4 hour, etc. So what we're going to do, and again, ladies and gents, you guys can do this the same time if you like. You can follow along with me. You can watch this recording a couple of times and you can apply the same principle or practice to any other coins that did run well and you can relive the moments. Okay. You can relive the moments that the coin went through and we're going to go do something called bar replay. All right. And I'm going to look at it as if it was 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday for me. So 7 a.m. UTC. And I'd seen this coin fun on the 1 day. All right. And again, I'll bring that up for you all. And this is what it looked like at that time. All right. Does this make any sense? Everybody following? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a little emoji reaction, just so I can see you guys are all alive and this makes sense. If it doesn't, please drop it in the FAQ section. All right. So all I did was, because again, I'm using the 1 hour time frame, remember, as my reference and the one that I actually use the HodlFire on. And I'm using the replay function, and I brought it back to where maybe I would have had a look at this and traded this. And I want you guys to see and feel the things that are going to happen that I know that you all encounter when it comes to these trades. Because again, like I said before, it's easy to look at a coin a couple of days ago and like, oh, there was a bottom, there was a top, so clear, so easy. No, it doesn't work like that. Real life, there are emotions and there are things that actually present themselves and then disappear that you do need to be aware of. All right, lovely. Everybody ready? Cool. So at this point, I knew the candles were up above here. I knew there was a pivot top that had come in with a sell tag. It's just hiding up behind there. There it is. Okay. So what do we do next? What do we need to check? What do we need to do in order to see whether this coin is feasible? I know on the day it's struggling. I wish this was a bit of an open chat where you guys could all jump in, but if you want to throw it in the Q&A, give you 5 seconds. What do we need to do? What do we need to check? What do we need to implement to be able to see whether or not this coin is viable? Okay. We need to check the higher time frames. Okay, I like that. Thank you, Frenchie. That's amazing. Agreed. But is this coin in an upward trend? I know it's struggling with it on the day, but is this coin going to be struggling with any other time frames? Is it worthwhile setting what you said there, Frenchie, about setting a bottom alert or pivot bottom alert on that 1 hour? Is it worthwhile? So what do we need to do in real time? Go and check with the candles. And again, Hodlnots, you guys should be able to be checking these other things as well using this great indicator. Where are we? Front of the mountain? Okay. 2 hour candles are up above. Again, for those of you who don't have the Hodlnots indicator, haven't done the course, we try and repeat this often enough, is that for successful trades, you do need to look at the other time frames. Why? Because what happens if you looked at the 1 hour and the 1 hour, the candles are up above the 200? Good, you're in a positive zone. But the 2 hour, the candles were underneath the 200 here and hitting it, preventing it from running because it's resistance. This is why you need to check the other time frames. Okay, so 2 hour, bare basics, candles are up above. Sure, there's a pivot top on the 2 hour. Not important. What I'm looking at is candles are above the 200 on that 2 hour. What about the 4 hour? Okay, cool. Candles are crossed up over. Looking to test support on the 4 hour, but cool. Not an issue for me, in my opinion. Are there any other issues? Now, I use 1, 2, 4. They're almost duplicates of each other or increments of 4. I go look at the 8 hour. Ooh, all right. So currently at that point in time, 9 o'clock in the morning, my time on Thursday, there was some potential away, 16%, but it's underneath there and might present a problem at some point. But there is some nice potential. 16% isn't too bad. I know the day is dealing with that 200. Let's go look at the 12 hour. Is there any issues here? Ooh, okay. But more of a serious issue here. We've got the candle, and if I just hide this very quickly, that's trying to break up past that 200. Yeah, it's a 16, 15% away on the 8 hour, but that 12 hour is presenting an issue as well. And it's a bit of a stronger issue. It's that 200 on the 12 hour versus the 200 on the 8 hour. But it's good to be cognizant of that, because if I'm looking for trades, all right, on the 1 hour, and I know that the 8 hour is a little bit of a distance away, the day is dealing with it, the 200, but the 12 hour more so, is that there is a chance that this can come down. All right. So yes, I agree with that comment. Setting alert, now that I've checked the time frames, knowing that the 8 hour, 12 hour, and day are potentially going to be issues, there is chance. I mean, that the fact is, I look at the day here for this coin fund, and there's been not only a pivot bottom and a buy tag, but a strong neon green, and these neon green candles show a strong increase in volume, strong increase in the trend upwards, etc. Look at that. All right. This seems to be like it's wanting to go. It's going to push past maybe the next day candle and however many hours it was back then. That's going to push back up over that day. And what does that mean it's going to do on the 12 hour? Pull it up. And yes, the 8 hour has that will have that resistance of the 2 hour. Sorry. The 8 hour will have that resistance of the 200. But if the day trend is strong and the 12 hour trend is being pulled up, the 8 hour trend is probably going to be pulled up as well. All right. So fun is not perfect, but I've checked the 2 hour, the 4 hour. They look good. Why? Candles are above the 200. 8 hour, 12 hour day. Sure. Keeping that in mind. So yes, maybe I'm going to set a pivot bottom alert. Or maybe because it's struggling to get past you guys, ladies and gents, for those of you who haven't done the course, you see all these wicks lining up. The buyers can't get past that point, right? Resistance. And this is probably the highest point of resistance. It is a bit of a, what we call a box, okay, or a range or a zone. It looks a little something like this, right? We know it needs to get past that area. All right, so I'm just going to remove this because it's just a time reference point. I know that it needs to break up past 4588. So one of two things you can do. You can set your pivot bottom alert to go off, or potentially set a buy tag alert. Yeah, you want to know that the market is trying to turn around, and that's like an early warning, much like we might set a 1 hour or 4 hour buy tag, sell tag alert on Bitcoin to give us an indication as to market movements. We can set that buy tag alert, sure. For me, what I want to know is when it breaks past this area or box of resistance, and maybe I would have set what we call a side alert. So if you guys don't have this, make sure you right click on your price axis, have the plus button ticked, and what you want to be able to do is then have set an alert just above 4588. So you could have set it at, yeah, whatever, 4592, whatever, anything just above that. Why? Because this is temporary. And while it does paint as in go white after a certain number of candles, a certain number of data that the trend is confirmed down or up, at the moment it's still temporary. So sure, you can set one of two alerts. Okay. Let's have a look there. Nice one, Frenchie. Thank you for that comment. Saying I would set a double screen. Okay, so you can do a split pane on TradingView, which I'm not going to do at the moment, but I would draw a line for where the 200 is on that 8 hour. So wherever that 8 hour value was that we saw here, okay, roughly 4877. You could have then drawn a line 4877. Roughly, okay, I'm not going to get pedantic. Okay, I can edit that quickly and just make it 4877 coordinates. Okay, drawn a line and told me, cool, well, it's testing that 8 hour 200. Right, so at that point in time was, as we've measured it on the 8 hour, was about what, 16, 15% away. This one's slightly different, but same. And then you know that once it's broken past that point on the 8 hour, it's probably broken definitely past the 12 hour 200. And then the day is obviously in the clear. Sure, that's not a bad thing. But am I going to wait for it to break up past that? Or what if the pivot bottom came in with a buy tag and I have a stop loss in place and I can trade it up to that point, being careful that it might hit that and be rejected, or it might just continue? Sure, not a bad thing. So you could have set, a side alert and be like, okay, cool, it's now moved 19% off the pivot bottom in the buy tag, or whatever, 15%, and then I get in. Sure, really nothing wrong with that at all. What I'm trying to show you is that while the 1, 2, and 4 hour are good, the 8 hour we know is got some way to go. The 12 hour struggling, is that there is potential to get in early, but just make sure that you're using a stop loss. Imperative. All right, so it's going to delete this for the moment. We know where it is roughly. So 2 alerts, or one of either of the 2 or 3 alerts, buy tag, pivot bottom maybe. But for me personally, I would have set a side alert just about 4588. Okay, to let me know whether to get in. So let's watch in real time, or simulated real time, how this plays out in terms of these 1 hour candles. Because I'm awake now, right? It's now 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm awake and I'm waiting for this coin. I've set my alert for the pivot bottom or the side alert to go off. I'm not going to do it now because this coin's actually trading in real time. So let's have a quick look. All right. I'll see how quick or slow I can be with catching this. All right. Buy tag come in. Maybe your alert has triggered for that to say, hey, careful, maybe it's on to turn. That is painted now, right? So that is not going to disappear. Enough data has come through to say that this, for the moment, is the current top, 4588. But it's still going sideways. If I wanted to, I can look at the 2 hours going sideways, 4 hours going sideways, 8 hours probably still going a little sideways. So it's a 12-hour day. That's fine, because at the moment, it's only an hour later, 2 hours later. So I'm going to wait for the pivot bottom alert to come in, or I'm going to wait for that 4588 to be broken. So I'm going about my business. I'm scalp trading other coins that are running at the same time. See, GPS is running nicely. No one gets squirreled. All right. I can do life in that in the meantime because I've set my alerts and it's still early enough in my day, so I'm not going to miss these alerts. All right. I've got TradingView app on my phone. I get my alerts there, etc., etc. Let's play this out. All right. Cool. So time goes by. Ooh, pivot bottom and a buy tag at the same time. All right. that does happen, ladies and gents. Buy tag came in first, pivot bottom is saying, hey, we've confirmed that this market is trending and that this is the bottom. All right, so bear that in mind. Now your alert is triggered. And for those of you who should remember, um, thank you, Frenchie. No. While your alert is triggered, this is telling you it is the bottom. There is often and will often happen 2 candles after the fact. So at this time, 11 o'clock in the morning, my time on Thursday, the alert came in for the pivot bottom. There is a delay because in the way that the algorithm and the coding works is that there is enough data to support the fact that it is a pivot bottom, temporary, sure. Now, the buy tag came in at that time on that candle. Some of you might have gotten in here. Some of you might have gotten in here with 50% of your capital, knowing that you're still going to put a stop loss in. Guys, remember, we know that the 8-hour, the 12-hour of the day are still struggling with their own respective issues. Okay. Some people would rather wait for a neon green candle and or to break past 4588 before they get in. Now, to mitigate or to manage your risk, don't go all in with a pivot bottom. You could go split it in generally when there's a buy tag following this, perhaps split it, 30% on the pivot bottom, or whenever the pivot bottom comes in, you get in, wait for the buy tag candle come in, or wait for the neon green to get in. How far away? If I decided to get in now, my alert triggered, okay, and I decided to get in, how far away is it potentially to hit in and around this area? It needs to break past. But how much am I missing out on if I wait for that? 4588. Okay, call it 10%. It's a risk, right? You know the 8, 12, and day are dealing with 200 some form or another. But the 1, 2, 4 are looking pretty good. This is where you need to decide. You guys, in your minds, you can shout at me. I can't hear you, but are you getting in or are you going to wait? I thought I heard somebody there. All right. Now it's decide. I'm actually gonna wait for a neon green to know that the things are starting to turn around. Because I could get in here, be a little risky, but let me just wait another candle, see what happens. Okay, it's green candle, a little uncertainty. Ooh. Okay, sorry, I meant to go back one. Let me just because this pause function doesn't happen very quickly. Okay, I'll try this again. 1, 2, come on. Sorry, I'm just trying to time this so that it actually plays out. Okay. My alert for the neon green candle was that's what I said I wanted to get in on. All right. When it came in. But bear in mind that you still got this area still in a resistance zone. All right. You still want to break that 4588. This has come in at 1 o'clock in my afternoon. A few hours later, I'd seen this coin. Pivot bottom had come in at that time. I missed this initial run, but I've done my analysis on all the time frames. I know about the 200 on the 812 on the day. All right. I know then with that candle, I would have checked in. All right. No pivot bottom yet on the 2-hour yet, but it's neon candle. It's getting close to this. What about the 4-hour? There definitely wouldn't have been a pivot bottom yet. The pivot top was still there. All right. 8-hour, we know at this point was dealing with that, but all of a sudden some volume came in and now it's trying to cross that. So it would have broken that, or it would have set that alert that old Frenchie had sent for, well, in theory, should have set that off. Okay, but it's looking to go up at that point. I don't know why it's that high. Oh yeah, was this part of it. Within that 8-hour candle, a lot of things happened, but it was still struggling here at that point. So what I'm trying to get at is you might have gotten that alert, but maybe you get in, but maybe you're waiting for that to break. So hypothetically, maybe you got in. Okay. I would have got in, honestly, because not because I know what happened with the coin, but because I have a stop loss in place. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark where I got in. Now, ladies and gents, here's a very personal question for all of you. What percentage risk are you willing as a stop loss? Don't tell me, because that might depend on what does the coin move. If each candle of this was 1%, I'm not going to have a stop loss that's 10% down. That's going to be down at the bottom here. No point. If each candle moves up 10%, I'm not going to have a 2% stop loss because it moves slightly and I'm out. So that's a personal question, and that's to do with the candles or the coin and the volatility. And what are you willing to accept? Are you trading $10 or $20? Or are you trading $2,000? Are you willing to accept a 10% or 8% loss on $20? Same for $2,000? That's a personal question. All right. So me, depends on the coin, depends on the movement. I'm generally about a 7 or 8%. Some people would say put a stop loss in underneath that low pivot point over there. If you decide to get in and you got in at that price, right, that's 7% down below, just below 4055, right? I'm going to put my stop loss in. Generally, mine's about 7%, 8%. And I'm willing to risk that because I've done my research on the time frames, or I know the coin well, etc. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop in a stop loss line. And what I'll do is for the moment, just make it red. All right. So I got in and again, because we're back testing, wherever I saw it within that 1 hour candle, I'm taking average out of this price where if I decide that I got in roughly, I didn't get in at the very top. I definitely didn't get bargain basement price. Let's be honest, I got in there roughly where the candle closed, where the average price was where it closed. Okay. So I got in there and I'm in. My stop loss is in place just below that pivot bottom. Yes, it's temporary, but it is at least something. Because if it breaks down below that, it's definitely going to go lower than that price and down. And I don't want to sit through. Yes, I know there's support at the 200, blah, blah, but you guys have to decide. All right, so we're all in. Anybody else waiting? If you're waiting for this 4588 to break, that's perfectly fine. It hasn't gone past there at that point. It had only gone to 4540. So just short of 4588. Okay. Anybody have any questions so far? Lovely. Making sense. I'm glad I make sense, some of you. All right, let's go. Now we're watching. I'm in. All right, time is moving on. Ooh, did you guys see that? Oop, sorry, I'm gonna have to go back again. This is what happens in real time, ladies and gents, and this is what confuses some people. So let me just do this again. Play this and see if I can catch it for you guys. Watch what happens. Okay, new candle comes in. I got in, right? New candle. Ooh, did you see that? There was a temporary top. Sorry, it just flashed off. I'm not going to try replay this again. There was a temporary top that flashed in on when this candle came in. Some of you might have set an alert for that to come in. Would have come in on this at this time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that would have been on there. Some of you might have gotten out because you panicked because you had set a top pivot alert. Once you get in, that's really what your first indication is, when the top pivot comes in, or even a sell tag, that the market is trying to turn. And that would have popped in, that temporary top pivot would have popped in, right? Let me actually put it there. I don't use that one very often. It's here somewhere. Was it there? Sorry, guys. I'm just looking for I think, yeah, you're all shouting at me. I know. Sorry, apologies. Is it? No, it's done here. Thank you. Thanks. All right. Let's put a little anchor text. So let's put a flag. Why not? Okay. Bing. All right. That flag's amazing. So the temporary top came in there, and did you get out? Remember, the general philosophy or the practice is you get out when the top pivot comes in, followed by a sell tag as confirmation of that trend. All right, that's the general practice, the general philosophy. And if you've gotten out there, yeah, remember it came in on this candle when that popped in, not that one. It came in there, you would have been marginally in profit, but hey, that's okay. But what you do when that temporary pivot comes in, don't panic. Set the alert for the sell tag to confirm before you potentially get out or whatever, and we'll talk about that now. But on that candle, and I'll draw in a vertical line because that's where it actually came in. All right. I'll leave it green. What was happening on the 2 hour? That looked pretty strong and broken up past the previous. Oh, that temporary top's gone. Yeah, remember that little blue flag is for the 1 hour. But there was a temporary pivot here, if you guys remember. There was one on the 4 hour as well, and it disappeared. Okay. So What do you do when that comes in, that temporary top, knowing it's potentially temporary? Okay. It hadn't yet broken past 4588, only this candle following in did. But what do? Set your alerts and don't panic. You've got a stop loss in place. And what happened was the very next candle, the price pushed up. It went past 4588, and that temporary pivot disappeared. So you're still in with a stop loss. Okay. The practice is, well, the idea is at least to get your stop loss to your entry as soon as possible. But you don't want to rush it. You don't want to be there and the next thing is a wick and then it flies 200%. Give it a little bit of time. You've only been in this coin for 2 hours, or this trade for two candles, whatever time frame you guys are going to trade, all right? Just leave it there. It's fine. You can move it up incremental if you like. But while we're looking at this, and we check the 4 hour, 8 hour should be shaping up a little bit better, right? In terms of that. It's still trying to cross the 200 there. The 12 hour still trying to cross. But look where it is compared, and I'll hide this quickly. It was still trying to cross back here. This was 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It would cross over into the new 12-hour candle, which is midnight or midday UTC. It's a new 12-hour candle. And it was now trying to cross there, but it was still in the same day. So the day was still struggling with this 200. All right. It was still, well, not struggling. It was still trying to find its place. But we know that the 8 hour is trying to shift. The 12-hour is still, and it seems to be progressive, right? That's why I'm not panicking. And when that first temporary top came in, I was like, whoa, whoa, too early. Let me just wait. I've got a stop loss in place. Let's play this out. All right. So we're in, and it's a nice shaved green candle. Well, not that it really matters here. The trend is at least fairly consistent, and there's a green near HodlFire. It's broken past the previous area, previous support. I mean, it's probably previous resistance. All right. We're still in. Okay. Candle's playing out. An hour goes by. Ooh, lovely. Look at that. Okay, sorry, I'll try to pause it. Okay, look at that. Beautiful. Do you think it's time now to move your stop loss up? I'd say yeah. All right. Move it to at entry or just slightly above. Some people, they really want to watch it and move it like really close. But what happens is, again, what if there's a bit of a doji, a little bit of a down wick, you're wicked out. At that point, you would have been, hey, I'm not going to complain about 12%. Sure. But give a little bit of breathing room. All right. And if you do get wicked out here and you're 4% in profit instead of 12%, hell, you're still in profit. But you've had a look at the higher time frames, 4, 12 day. We know what the situation is. This coin seems to be going okay. All right. It's now 5 o'clock in my time, 3 p.m. UTC. We're still in this trade, and my stop loss has moved up. I'm in a risk-free trade. Now, remember, guys, the reason why we're doing this exercise is to show you that there will be other coins that are starting to look like funded on the day, where the candle was crossing over that 200. And as the market starts to shift, you'll start to see a lot more coins getting in that position. I want you guys to live through the moments that you're going to encounter on these different time frames. But again, I'm focusing on the 1 hour because I've done my due diligence, my research on the 2 hour. We're above the 200 there. Things are looking good. I know about the 812 in the day. All right. So it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I move my stop loss up. I can go have dinner, go for a run, do whatever. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Now what do? Anybody want to tell me? Pop it in the Q&A section very quickly. Would you get out? Just FYI, there is a sell tag there. All right. So your pivot alert or pivot top alert would have triggered. Maybe you would have set your sell tag alert afterwards or whatever it is. And you see that now. What would you do? Would you sell? Would you stay in? Maybe because you're just giving a bit of breathing room. You know the higher time frames are still trying to shape up. Okay, what happened now with this new 8 hour candle is it's come up and it's now testing that 200 as support. All right, 12 hours should still be the same. Okay, still trying to struggle, still trying to get past it. The day we know is still dealing with this in terms of finding support, much like the 8 hour was. All right. So would you sell? Would you leave your stop loss where it is? Would you move your stop loss up slightly? Would you take your capital out and leave your profit in? Because this candle, when the alert triggered, currently, if I sold right now, I would be 18% up. So I'm $100 in with a trade. I take my $100 out. I'm $18 still in the trade because I've got 18%, $18 profit. But what happens if that now goes 100%? I make another $18. I go $36. I'm like, yeah. All right. So again, this is a personal question. How much do you take out? What do you do? All right. Someone said sell. All right. Leave your stop loss where it is, maybe. Maybe move it up a little, but risk getting wicked out. I'm not worried. I'm still awake at 7 o'clock in the evening. All right. Now, again, Americans or Canadians are waking up. Everybody else in the East, it's called the Wild West and the Far East. Wild West is waking up. The Far East is asleep still. So these trades would have played out differently. But I'm talking about how this might play out for you in your own real time and wherever the world you are with whatever coin. That comes in. What do you do? Now, I've got a stop loss in place. I'm still in the trade. I'm still awake. Uh, I'm in profit. Sure. 18%, but I know that the day trend is trying to get up there. The 12 hours being supportive. Excuse me. 8 hours still trying to find that support. I'm going to let this play out. I'm going to let it breathe because I know this is a temporary top. Okay. Some of you are going to sell. Some of you are going to move up your stop loss. That's okay. Let's have a look and see what happens. All right. So there is another candle. All right. It's going to disappear. Oops. As I said, it's going to disappear when it breaks past that value. All right. So if you guys all saw that, let me just drop the flag in. There was a temporary top. And I think there was another one here somewhere as well. All right. Can't remember. But either way, by allowing it to breathe, knowing that the high time frames are in general upwards trend, I've given a little bit of time just to have a little thought. And it's now 9 o'clock at night, right? It's about an hour or so away from my bedtime, but it's now turning up. It's had that disappear. So again, I haven't panicked. I've got a stop loss in place. All right. I'm going to give it one more candle because about an hour or so, I'm going to start thinking about going to sleep. I'm like, okay, all right. It's now 10 o'clock at night. For the Americans, you guys in the Wild West, it may well have been, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever it is. Maybe you're still in the trade, but I'm going to sleep. All right. What I'm going to do is going to move this up a little, just take a little bit more profit in case it does wake me out while I'm sleeping. I'm pretty happy with, maybe this is a whole bunch of 1 hour candles on this 4 hour candle. So this is still what's to come. Sorry, apologies. I don't want to give it too much away. We know that the 8 hour is still finding that. I know the trend. All right, etc. All right. And this is what I would have done. All right. I would have gone to bed 10 o'clock at night. I'm in profit. Some of you already bought in, but now what happens if, yeah, by the way, if there's 11% there, but in terms of my profit, if I go to sleep, and actually what I do want to show you guys, all right, so I'm 9% or so in profit if this did turn around. Let me just go back a little. I want to show you guys if you had sold, okay, let's go here, play one candle. If you had set an alert, can we just play one candle? Really could slow this down, I suppose, as well. Just play one candle. There you guys, you can see I don't use this function very often. Apologies. All right. Maybe you sold pivot top, sell tag, and you've taken out profit. You might have done it here. You might have done it here. All right. Either way, but you take the higher time frames and you're like, okay, either I'm going to set an alert for a pivot bottom to come in, or it's going to need to break 5500. All right. And then you get in again. So either wait for the pivot bottom if it were to come in, or to break that. And that would disappear and you could get back in. Just looking at this indicator. I'm not talking about this indicator where you might see a certain few things. All right. But if you got out on this one or you got out this one, you either wait for the pivot bottom alert to get back in with the buy tag or breaking past 5500. All right. And right, then you decide to get in again. That's your choice. I'm still in. But say I had gotten out on this and over here with the sell tag. All right. And I decided to get out at that point. And I'm gonna like, okay, I'm gonna wait for the side load to trigger and or the pivot bottom to trigger, which is gonna come first. All right. At this time, I was still awake. Okay. This is the other me. The first me is still in the trade with the stop loss, remember. All right. Second me, or the other person, Bob, All right, just going to wait for that to break up and then potentially get in. Okay, not yet. Okay, I'm awake still. It's 9 o'clock at night. My side alert is triggered off. It's broken past 5500, and I'm back in the coin again. All right, but remember, I got out here. Bob got out. John's still in. All right, Bob got out. Bob got back in. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to drop in a new entry line, and I'm just going to make this a different color so everyone's just aware. So my first initial, John's first initial entry, Bob, who's been taking, took out there, got in, took out, got in. All right. Because you know that the higher time frames are still going up. You know it's still dealing with the 200, but the general trend is up. So that's okay. Hopefully everyone's still with me. Okay, I know we're going to see a whole bunch of colored lines and a whole bunch of things. So hopefully you guys are getting the real life mentality, the situations you're going to be dealing with in real time. Because once we finish all of this, you're going to see where the temporary tops were or temporary bottoms, and you're going to see all the painted ones. You'll be like, okay, now I see that there was a lot more to the story than just looking at painted pivots. We're going through this in real life, and I apologize, we will run late on this, so I am apologizing. All right, let's go. So John's still in. Bob's just got back in. Okay. Ooh, Bob sees that now in real time. Bob forgot to put in a stop loss. Silly Bob. All right. So Bob's risk tolerance is 10%. Okay. Bob put in a stop loss there, or 7% or whatever it was. Let's pop in a different line this time. Let's go light blue, whatever it is. Okay. Bob got in, that flashed, and yeah, it did. Sorry, Bob got in of it because of that one there. That flash is a new pivot top and a sell tag. Now, if Bob hadn't sold, Bob would have been taken out because of that stop loss that he had put in place, 10% down below, 8%, whatever it was. But if Bob had decided to sell again, because he had just got in on that one, then Bob is out. All right. John's asleep. All right. John's left his stop loss there. John's gone to sleep. John's not too worried. But Bob is out. All right, so what I'm going to do, Bob is out. We're taking that one out now. And what I'm going to do is, all right, so Bob's basically just working all the temporary pop sell tags. Breaks past that value, gets back in. Temporary top, sell tag, gets out. Waits for the break, temporary top, sell tag, get out. And Bob is quite active. Bob is in the West, right? Bob's in California. John's sleeping. John isn't worried. John is talking in the third person. John is also knowing that there's a stop loss in place and is happily in dreamland. All right. Ooh, John is out. John is not awake yet. All right. But those of you who are in the West, California, wherever it is, and those waking up in the Far East are like, ooh, we saw fun. All right. Is this still got potential? Does it still have potential? We're going to wait for a pivot bottom to come in or to break past that again, right? That's the thinking. More likely than a pivot bottom to come in. So, right, pivot bottom comes in. Just FYI, while John was sleeping, John's stop loss was triggered, and John managed to unconcernedly make 9.5% while sleeping. All right, it's now 4 in the morning, 2 a.m. UTC. All right, so those in the West are waiting for the Far East. They're waiting for a pivot bottom to come in. Yeah, buy tag just signals that there's a bit of a turnaround, like a sell tag would as well. Ooh. Pivot bottom has come in now, and generally 1 or 2 candles after the fact. There's a buy tag trying to turn around, sell tag, and then a pivot bottom saying, ooh, it is the bottom. There's support down here or something. Not the green dotted line because that's my initial entry. All right, so I'm now out. Just remember, because I got my stop loss hit. Now it is now 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh, I've got 9.5% while I was sleeping, but fun is still looking pretty good. Let me go have a look at what's happening on the day with good old fun. Ooh, fun candles. Okay. We're above the 200 in the day. That's still pretty good. It's better than the previous day. Lovely. What's happening on the 12 hour? Is there still potential? Ooh, it's testing this as support. Okay. It's still dealing with it. It's fine. How's the all 8 hour doing? Okay. It's coming down a little, but it's still going sideways on these 2 time frames. All right. at this point in time, what is the 2 hour looking like? Where are the candles? All right, no bottom pivot yet, but we're still above here. What's happening with the 4 hour? Okay, it's coming down a little, but not neon yellow anymore. It seems to be a little indecision. Maybe it'll turn around. Is there some potential? What am I going to wait for? I've got the bottom pivot in. I need a buy tag afterwards, and preferably a neon green, and even waiting to break past 5725, right? Because it's temporary at the moment. How far away is that roughly? That's a good distance away. Can I surely not take some percentage profit when I get a buy tag or a neon green here? Like I'll take 15%. That's your call. Now, what would you do knowing that the 8 hour, the 12 hour, and the day are looking like they are? Apologies, everybody. My voice is going. What are we going to do? We're going to wait for a buy tag or a neon green? Are you going to wait for it to rather break up past this? Currently 20, 25% away. That's your call, but it's not quite happy yet on those higher time frames, but there is percentage potential. Even 8%, 10%, 12% is not the worst. Your call. Let's see what happens. Sorry, I just want to see what the time was at that time. Yeah, still 9 o'clock in the morning. All right. So the Far West or the Wild West has gone to sleep. Far East is awake, and there's a neon green candle, and maybe there was a buy tag. Now, again, your guys' entry or risk entry profile would be dependent. Some of you might get in with a buy tag, 100% of what you've been trading. Some of you wait for this rather. Check the higher time frames, see what's happening. All right. In that previous candle, it would have been there'd been a turnaround. No pivot bottom yet. We're still way above the 4 hour 200. Things are turning around potentially as well, etc., etc. All right. So where did you get in? Now I know that there was a temporary top. Okay. Why? Why does this happen? All right. Let's go and look at that again. Okay, there it is, right? Everybody see it. Lovely. Got a little flag, right? Cool. So this is what happens with the HodlFire in real time. I know you guys have gone through this. All right. Temporary bottom comes in. All right. Buy tag and nice influx of volume. All right. And that's disappeared. That's confusing. All right. But we know that this is a bit of a resistance zone, right? There are these wicks up here. It needs to break past this. It's currently on that current candle, roughly between there and there. There's still some potential away. Now, again, you guys might have got the alert for a buy tag after the pivot bottom, got in then there. I'm getting in on the neon green. So again, I'm going to drop in where I got in on this one. Yeah, lovely. I'm in. It's currently 11 o'clock in the morning. It's evening, early evening for the Far East, and it's very much still sleepy time for the Wild West. But I'm in. And I've got a stop loss in again, about, I don't know, between 8 and 10%. There we go. All right. This is a little bit of a riskier one. I could put it below that pivot bottom, but that's 13% away. What happens if fun isn't fun anymore and it turns around, I've lost 13% versus maybe 8%. But again, having it too close, presents its own little bit of risk. So again, you guys need to decide. If you get wicked out and it runs, get in. If it turns around and you've got enough space and you don't get wicked out, awesome. If it turns around and you've got lots of space and it hits that bottom space at 15 or 20% below, you've just lost out on a lot more. Okay, so again, your guys' decision where you get in. If you got in on this candle here and you were like, cool, I want to measure down to that, and that's 5% below, amazing, you got in early. But again, your risk appetite needs to be split, right? I know some of you trade on various time frames and to add to your positions and stuff. That's great. But keeping it simple here. If you got the buy tag alert after the pivot bottom, you're trading with $100, you get in $50 here. Wait for the neon green, get in with your other 50% or $50, and you've spread that risk, and your stop loss will be spread a bit between these two values that you got in, that one there and that one up there. But if you got 100% in here with this buy tag and you have a stop loss of 7%, that's plenty. All right. For me, I didn't. I got in there. And I'm probably going to put my stop loss, if it's this close, I don't want more than 10%. I put it in somewhere here. I don't mind going up to about 8, 9% depending on the coin and my faith in timeframes, which I sometimes have too much in, but yes. All right. That is my stop loss now. All right. And it is 11 o'clock in the morning. Let's go. Some of you might be waiting for that 12% gap between that and the previous high, but that pivot top's disappeared. This is what happens in real time. All right, and we're in the trade, and it's playing. Oh, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not worried. I've got a stop loss. All right, pivot top is there. Okay, sorry, they played too quickly, but you guys saw that the pivot bottom, I'll go back quickly, came in. Oh, did it come in? Sorry, I'm losing my mind here. But it went up, it came down. No pivot top there yet. Okay, sorry, the pivot top came in. All right, there it is. I'm gonna drop the flag. All right, just to keep track of where all these are. There it is. My stop loss is there. I'm not panicking. Don't move your stop loss down. It's very tempting. You're like, oh, it's coming down. I've just finished lunch and like, oh no, fun is not having fun at the moment. Maybe I'll move my stop down, loss down a bit more and down, 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 and down. Don't ever do that. Don't break your rules around stop losses. Don't move them. Don't. Okay, you can move it up a little. Don't move it down. I'm still in the trade. My lunch is not sitting so comfortably anymore with this trade, but I'm like, there's a pivot top and the sell tag confirming the trend is coming down. Okay, you can decide to sell when that sell tag comes in, and you'd make a minor loss from where you got into where you got out, which might again might have been 3% or 5% or whatever it is on that candle when it came in, whatever. But I've got a stop loss in place. I have faith in time frames. I had a good run previously. I had 9.5% profit. Um, I'm willing to give this a bit of breathing room and see where it goes. All right. And all of a sudden, G buys in. Thanks, G. All right. And it pushes up and that temporary top's gone again. That's coming up and down, coming up and down. I'm like, whoa, this coin's going a little bit through turmoil. I'm gonna just let it play out. It's back at my entry. My stop loss is there. Ooh, another temporary top. Okay. All these blue flags, temporary tops have disappeared. All right, it's hit that sell tag. Are you out? I mean, at that point, it would have been you would have gotten the notification for the pivot. Sorry, the sell tag after the pivot top on that candle. You would have been like a whisker in profit. You know what? I've got a stop loss in place. It's only 6 o'clock in the evening. Going for a run. I'll have dinner. I'll have a look at things. My alert will trigger if it hits my stop loss. I'm still awake. Let's just let it play out a bit, right? And again, just bear in mind when you're making those decisions, go and have a look and see. You know those time frames that we're having issues. 8 hours looking a bit better. All right. At some point in somewhere in that candle, it would have been looking a bit better. 12 hour? Ooh. Somewhere in the 12 hour, but we're now on top of that 200 on the 12 hour, and we know that the day is looking a bit better. Well, the fact is we're still above the 200. That's why I can comfortably leave my stop loss there, knowing that because of time elapsing, time continuing, and then momentum building on the 8 hour, and then the 12 hour, and then the day, that we're much more of an upward trend and far less resistance than we would have been before. Okay. So I'm going for a run. I'm having dinner. And next couple of hours, I'm going to decide whether or not I'm going to move my stop loss up or take profit. All right. So now it's 9 o'clock at night. Okay, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, all right, my stop loss is there. I'm just going to move it up just a smidge, just to be less of a risk. It was 8% or 8.2, whatever it was. It's now, whatever, 6%. Okay. And I'm going to sleep. And the Far East is waking up, and the Wild West is still very much awake. And some people, Bob is back, and Bob is like, oh, okay, I've checked the time frames. Things are looking pretty good. And there's a temporary top there at the moment. It's kind of going sideways. I'm going to set a bottom pivot alert, or I'm going to set a side alert for 5407, which actually had broken at that point. No, it hadn't. All right. And Bob has set an alert for 5407 because Bob wants to know, can he make some more profits? He took a couple of buy sells a little earlier the day before. Lovely. All right. So waiting for that 540, whatever it is, alert to go off. I'm asleep. Stop loss in place. I'm sleeping like a like a mustache baby. But it's going okay. All right. And Bob is waiting. Bob is waiting for either the bottom pivot alert or the side alert to come through. All right. Bob is watching in real time while John is sleeping. Good. Ooh, all right. Oh, goodness me. Bob's side alert went off. Because why? That temporary top that was there is gone off. John doesn't care. John is sleeping. So it's broken past that value. And while it isn't a neon green, Bob is like, hey, I'm gonna I'm gonna get in. John's in. He told me. I'm gonna get in too, and I'm gonna be completely different, and I'm gonna go green. And Bob's like, all right, I need to put a stop loss in place. It's broken past that value. It's not yet neon green, HodlFire candle. Could have waited, perhaps, but Bob's going to put a stop loss in. Bob thinks, below that wick, a little bit of a support. You guys can see that going sideways, a little bit of consolidation. Bob's like, cool, 8.6%. John said he did his 8.6 as well. Bob's doing the same. All right, it's going to change that color just so we know the differences. All right, so Bob is in with a green cross, stop loss with a dash line there. John's still in, John's sleeping. All right, let's go. All right, keep track, guys. Lots of lines. Okay, let's go. All right, and it's now like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4. Ooh, Bob's like, uh-oh. Oh, sorry, guys. That was too quick. But you saw what happened. There was a temporary top there, but no sell tag. So Bob didn't panic because Bob has learned. Bob is like, cool, temporary top, but no sell tag. I've got a stop loss in place. Okay, remember, we did in this candle, and then it disappeared because this one came in and broke past that value. All right. So Bob's not panicking because for Bob, it is 11 o'clock in the morning. John's still sleeping. All right, let's carry on. This is all what you'd be experiencing in real time, guys. So I'm hoping you're feeling some of all the indecision and like the what ifs and like, what do you do? Hopefully this is making a little bit of sense as we're watching this in real time. Bob's happy because Bob is now, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. I mean, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're now pushing up. All right. Bob's like, great. I got in there. Let's carry on. Let's see what's happening with Fun. Is Fun still having some good times? All right. Oh, go syrup. Different coin, different time. Okay. Okay. You guys saw that. Sorry, it went too quick. But again, once again, there was a pivot top with a sell tag that came in. Now, did Bob take profit when that came in? Okay, Bob got in on there. Maybe Bob got out there. Maybe Bob did. Right? John's waking up now. Okay, and Bob and John John has seen the temporary top come in and then disappear. He's like, oh, check the time frames. Oh, this is great. Fun is still looking for potential. But now the temporary top has disappeared. When do I get in? It disappeared because that candle that in this 1 hour candle, it pushed past and made it disappear. Now, when do you get in? There's not going to be a temporary bottom because the temporary top has disappeared. So, all right, John is like, hang on. I got in back here. My stop loss is there. I'm actually going to move my stop loss, the blue one, to my blue entry just to give it, now I'm awake again. I don't have to stress. It's just above my entry. I'm still giving a bit of space. Bob is in. Bob is in for a little while. Stop loss is there. Not quite moving. I mean, you can move it up a little, I guess, right? But either Bob sold, we don't know. All right. Let's say Bob decided to stay in because he was making lunch and he didn't see it. Or if you guys did sell, you're Bob, and you want to get in, when do you get in? Well, it's broken past there. Maybe you decide to get in with a neon green candle right at this point, or Bob's going to get back in. John's still in. John could even add to his position or get in more if he wanted to, but he's not. Yeah. So buy tag, that's going. Ooh, it's pushing up. And maybe you guys, if you had sold at that temporary top with the sell tag, maybe you're waiting for the next candle to push up past that. Maybe you got in there. Maybe you're waiting for a neon green to get in or get back in. That's your choice. Now, John, with the blue dotted line, he's moving his stop loss up now because he's like, hey, I went to sleep, didn't need my stop loss. Amazing. I'm woken up now. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. This coin's pushing up quite nicely. I'm going to move beyond. I don't want to be at my entry. I want to be a little bit in profit. And John is a little bit in profit up there. Cool. Might take another 7, 8, 9% again. And Bob's like, listen, John, it's really late. I need to go sleep. What I'm going to do, I got in on that blue line. I've moved my stop loss up a little. Um, sorry, getting John and Bob mixed up here. John, Bob's stop loss is there. He's going to move it up just to his entry so he can go to sleep now. He's in the Wild West, and John's awake, and we're going. Now, this is two different people, guys, and I'm sorry if it's difficult to keep track of them, but I'm trying to show you that in different times and different days, coins move differently. Um, and it could work for one, work for the other. We're all going to capitalize at some point or another. We know the coins run when we sleep, but we all sleep in different times. All right, so Bob's gone to sleep, John's awake, and John's moved his stop loss up above, so the blue dotted line or dash line above the blue dotted line. All right. Now, there's a whole bunch of action. Ooh, you guys saw that? It was there momentarily. And again, this might have caused John, me, to worry because there was a temporary top that came in with a sell tag. And maybe it was at that time when it came in, it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I try not to be greedy, but from when I did get in to where they're possibly, gonna have 45% up. Woohoo! Right? Now, I could stay in for longer, or I could take my profits when that temporary top came in. 45, listen, guys, 45% is amazing. Don't be upset with that kind of profit. 10% is amazing. All right, whatever it is. Now, I can do one of two things. I can sell completely, not knowing what this next candle looks like, or I can move my stop loss up. That's within a fair range. All right, so I can see it's kind of going sideways here. And instead of selling, I'm happy to move my stop loss up and be 28% up. Right? Bob doesn't know about anything. Bob's fast asleep, all right? Bob is his stop loss is just above his entry, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning for him. All right. So again, you guys need to make decisions when those come in. How much are you in profit when that temporary top came in with the sell tag? You could, knowing what's happening on all these time frames, the trend is still up. Sure, there's a big wick there, but that's a whole bunch of other candles. All right. The trend is still up. The 12 hours still looking all right. The day, not too bad. All right. So again, you guys need to decide what you're doing. If you're that much in profit, temporary top comes in with a sell tag, take profit or move your stop loss up. Now, what happens if you did sell again and it breaks past that value of 7294? Your alert goes off, your side alert goes off because there's definitely no bottom pivot alert that goes off, and you get in at that point or whatever. Amazing, you're still in. Okay, I'm not going to draw more lines for this case, but John's still in with a move stop loss. Bob is asleep, doesn't know about anything. Let's have a look what happens. Okay, so this is happening in real time. Another temporary top comes in there. Ooh, big wick down. Okay, and we'll drop a flag there, whether or not that disappears or not. But now, okay, remember this didn't come in. I'm out. I'm out with 28%. I'm happy. I could have taken 45% out here. By the time that this top pivot came in, and the sell tag, we would be in this candle and there'd be some drastic selling off. And maybe if I was lucky and I was aware, or maybe I sold here, sold here, sold here, and took a little bit more profit. But at this time of the day, I'm going out for a run or I'm cooking or whatever it is, and I'm aware, ding. Sorry, John, stop loss got hit, but good news, you got 28% profit. I'm like, amazing. Bob, on the other hand, Bob is like still very much asleep. Actually, Bob is actually starting to wake up and he's like, ooh, okay, they're wick down. What's the next candle gonna do? Am I gonna move that up? Am I gonna sell? Am I gonna panic sell? Bob's not panicking. Bob's like, my stop loss is just above my entry. Give it a bit of room. That's fine. John told me he took profit. Maybe it's still, oh, right. I checked the high time frames. Its coin is still in a pretty much a good trend. All right. Now, if my stop loss got taken out, I'm out. I should be happy. Walk away and be like, cool. But hey, I've had two good trades, one back here and another one here. Is there still potential for this coin, knowing that fun is looking fun? All right. That there's some good action going on here. I'd be like, hey, maybe there's another opportunity. All right. So I got wicked out. I go for my run. And I'm like, all right, I've set a side alert for when it breaks past here again, 8405. So 8406, set my alert there. And maybe I'd get in again. Cool. And wait for it to see what happens. Bob is sweating. Bob is not sure. Bob is like, oh, do I need to move my stop loss up? Oh, okay, things aren't looking good. Maybe Bob sells, right? Or maybe Bob doesn't. Maybe Bob has moved up his stop loss a little to be like, in case it does wick down again, a little bit more profit. I don't want to be too greedy. Like I'll put it there. John's still waiting for an entry. Okay, remember John got taken out. So I'm going to delete this just so we're not, right? I got taken out. I was happily in profit. I've got a side alert set up there. Okay. It's now quite late for me. So I've set my side alert for up here and my trigger while I'm asleep. I don't know, nothing I can do about it. All right. But meanwhile, Bob is very much awake and Bob is sweating profusely and he's like, oh, okay, let's go. And he's watching this. Okay. It's like, okay, it's going sideways. All right. Okay, I'm checking this. And now it's starting to get a little late, even for Bob. It's now, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the evening. And Bob was like, come on, just go up. I want to move my stop loss up before I go to sleep. All right. Is it going to go? Is it going to tank? All right. It's now 10 o'clock at night. It's now 11 o'clock. And he's like, cool. I'm going to move my stop loss up just a little. Seems to have come down a little bit here, a little bit of support. Maybe it could wick down and wick me out. But hey, hell, at the moment, I've been in this coin for quite some time. Currently 14% up. Amazing. So let me just move this up a little. Let's not be greedy. Give enough breathing room. See all these wicks lining up, a little bit of support. I was 14% up. I can go to sleep now quite comfortably and going from 14 to 19%, 1945. All right, that'd be a great end to things. All right, fantastic. Let's go. Okay, Bob goes to sleep and John is starting to wake up. And John realizes that, cool, my side alert hasn't gone off and things are still looking pretty good for fun on the day. Is there still potentially some opportunity for this old coin? All right, Bob's fast asleep. John is not in the coin yet. No pivot bottom alert is triggered. No side alert is triggered yet either. So what's happening? John's waiting. John's like, oh, okay, maybe it's not going to happen. All right. Oh, right. It's going, a little bit sideways. Right. And now at this time of the day, so 1 o'clock, John's making lunch, still waiting for one of the two alerts to trigger. Bob is almost waking up. And all right, Bob wakes up. It's been a couple of hours. It's now 8 o'clock in the morning for Bob. And he's like, whew, all right. My alert didn't trigger for my stop loss. I'm still in the trade, still 1945, 19.45% up. And it's John's going, John's finishing up some work. And John's like, come on, I want to pivot bottom and a buy tag. And I want this to go up. So I can go for my run, make dinner. But, I'll still check my phone. Ooh, pivot top. No sell tag yet. All right, but there's a temporary top. Right, I'll put a little flag. Cool. It's now, yeah, it's time for a run. John does a lot of running, apparently. Having a look at this, is this going to break up past this? How will I know? Ooh, sell tags come in. Bob is seeing this, and Bob's like, okay, I don't know. My stop loss is in place. Maybe I'll just move it up a little. It's still early in my day. That's okay. Not 19%, maybe I'm 20, 21% in profit. John's still waiting for an entry. Now it's going to break not past that only as a side alert, but it's going to break past that. John's going to set an alert here. Side alerts 7844, whatever it is. Okay. Somewhere to let me know. I'm going to make dinner now. Go. Bob's still in the trade. John's still waiting. Ooh, side alert triggered. That flashed off. This does happen, guys. Why does it happen? Because the higher time frames are an upward trend. All of the candles and all the time frames are above that 200 hodl knots. You're still front of the mountain. All right, I'll say that loudly. Front of the mountain. What does that mean? Okay, that. So, having a look at that, John's like, ooh, do I get in? Because my side alert's triggered. It's currently on that candle at that price. How far away is this point? It's 8% away. Buy tag. I'm going to wait for neon green. John's waiting. All right. He's busy with dinner, but he's waiting. And Bob's still very much awake. And he's like, okay, things are starting to turn around. I'm looking to move my stop loss at some point. All right. So we're waiting for neon green. John's still waiting. Oh, another pivot top again. No sell tag yet after the fact, but let's drop that in. Cool. That's there. Now, in terms of John, it's 9 o'clock at night. John's still waiting for a neon green to enter the trade. Bob is still fairly happy. He's like, oh, okay, no sell tag yet, but my stop loss is there. I'm just going to leave it there for a second. Bob's going to run some errands. And we're waiting to see what happens. And John's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to sleep now. My neon green candle hasn't, or alert hasn't triggered yet, nor is my old side alert. And Bob's quite happy because Bob is still up there with the stop loss, and things are going. Uh-oh. John's neon green candle alert goes off, and John's sleeping. John misses the opportunity, and that's okay. All right. But Bob is happy. Bob is like, hey, all right, it's moving up. I'm still in this trade. I've been in this trade since forever. All right. And Bob is moving a stop loss. We're now 2 days later. It's now, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon for Bob. And Bob's still in. Lovely. All right. And yes, I will miss my alerts and I will miss entries, and you guys will as well. But fret not. Yeah, you guys saw it. There was a temporary top, no sell tag that disappeared. But Bob didn't panic because Bob has learned not to panic because there was no sell tag after that. And Bob has been in for a while, and Bob was like, hey, let's move all the old stop loss up. Just a little bit, not too much. It's a nice strong one up. Or Bob could sell. Bob's like, hey, I'm not gonna be too greedy. I've been in the straight forever. If it does hit my stop loss, it's currently there. Woohoo! Or I could take that. Gents, ladies, please. That's phenomenal. That's great. Sure, what if it runs another 500%? So what? What if it tanks 1,000%? If you're in profit and you're like, hey, I need to let go of my ego and I need to take profit, amazing. All right. But maybe Bob is going to wait because it's still, I don't know what time is it for Bob? It's 8 o'clock in the evening for Bob. And he's in California, remember? And he's like, cool, I'm going to give another 2 hours or so. And if a temporary top and the sell tag comes in, I'm going to take profit. Or even better, I'll move my stop loss up. All right, so Bob is waiting to see what's going to happen. John's still asleep. John's missed up, but that's okay. All right. Ooh, a little bit of doji. Oh, boom. And Bob is so happy that Bob didn't take profit because Bob it's now 10 o'clock at night. And Bob is like, hey, I'm not going to sleep. All right. This is moving big. All right. My stop loss is there. Geez, what do I do? All right. Meanwhile, John's still asleep. All right. Bob went up from 36% profit till 116% profit. Ladies and gents, if you haven't taken profit at 76% or wherever it was here, and Bob is like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna move my stop loss. I'm gonna go and try and sleep. And I'm gonna tell John about this later when he wakes up and he's missed out on some great trades. That's okay. All right. So he's moved his stop loss up there and he's gonna go try sleep. All right. It did wake up to some crazy high value, but he doesn't know. He's asleep. His stop loss is there, and John's not awake yet, or almost awake. All right. And John's like, got a message from Bob. It's an hour later. 2 hours later, 1 hour later, he's like, oh man, I moved my stop loss up. I stayed in the trade. Sorry you missed out, John. My stop loss is at 71%. I'm waiting to see what happens. Bob is fast asleep. John is like, geez, well, I hope it runs for him in his case, but I want to know if this is going to be some potential for me. A pivot top has come in. No sell tag has come in yet. Whew, I missed this all run, but you know what? It happens. There'll be other coins. John's not feeling too bad. He took some good percent trades before. And John's not waiting for an entry. He set a side tag alert to break up past that. And again, you guys could have entered on any of these, but again, potentially this is resistance. Bob is still asleep, not knowing what's happening. All right, so John's waiting for that to break up past 14,400. Right, side tag alert or even a bottom tag. But he doesn't want a bottom tag alert. He wants a side tag to go off. Ooh, there's a sell tag now after that confirming a downward trend. And John's like, it's fine. It's going to break past. It's going to go past my alerts of 14,400 and wait for another entry. This time, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Bob's an early riser. He couldn't sleep very well. And he's like, oh, cool. It didn't hit my stop loss. I'm up whatever percent it is. There's a sell tag. Now, Bob either sells. Yeah, so there's Bob 1 and Bob 2, right? Ego Bob is like, no, I'm gonna stay in this. I'm gonna stay in this trade. I'm gonna stay here, right? I'm gonna move it up, right? Or whatever. Moves it up a bit. Other Bob 2, Bob, the other half of him, he's like, I'm selling right now. Heck, I've woken up. This is a great way to start the day. Sell tag has come in 121%. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. That's amazing. Bob 1, the ego one, is like, no, wait. John, meanwhile, is still waiting. All right. John's still awake, waiting for it to break past 14,400 or the bottom pivot to come in. All right. John's waiting. And meanwhile, Bob number 1, who's moved his stop loss out, is wicked out. Hey, Shouldn't complain. He didn't take 121%, uh, like Bob 2 did, but Bond did 87%. That's okay. And this is what happens. And these are the split personalities, and these are the things that are going to happen to all of you as you see these. Now, John is still waiting for this. John is waiting for a pivot bottom because it's 6 o'clock in the evening. It's not 7 o'clock. It's not going to run up there, is it? Is it? Is it? All right. And no bottom pivot yet. It's trying to turn around. It's kind of going sideways. It's all kind of going. Okay, John's asleep at this point. John has set his alert. Sorry, let me just pause this quick. John has set his alert for the pivot bottom to come in at that time. When it does, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I haven't got it yet. Hasn't set off this alert, obviously. And Bob is also now waiting. Bob is out. I think Bob's tired of this coin. Bob's had too much excitement for 1 week. He's done. John is meanwhile waiting for this to materialize. So, John is now waiting. John wakes up about here, and John sees that the bottom pivot is in with a buy tag. But John is waiting for the green needle HodlFire candle to come about, and John's also looking at what's happening on the day at that time. He's like, "Ooh, okay, we're still above here, a little bit of indecision. Is there still potential for some trades? Right, there'd be a bottom pivot perhaps for the 2 hour, that kind of thing." But John is waiting because John knows as well. Ooh, we found support. All right. There's a pivot bottom in, waiting for a neon green candle potentially to enter. It is 7 o'clock in the morning. John's eager to get going. All right. Pivot top. Oh, okay, annoying. Pivot top came in there. I'll drop a flag just in the meantime. Because that came in. There was also one over there. It's going to drop these in because it's showing you guys where these are. We're almost done with this, ladies and gents, so just bear with us. Also, don't know how much longer my voice can handle. All right, so John's still waiting for neon green. Did you guys see that? It disappeared. All right, there's another one. We're going to pin it in real time as well. Sell tag. It seems to be going sideways. Still waiting for a neon green after a pivot bottom. That's painted after a certain number of time. Okay. So there we go. John has. All right. So John has waited for that the whole time. All right. Just 1 second. All right. So John, it's 7 o'clock in the evening, and John is like, whew, okay, is it going to be worthwhile seeing this candle? All right. Knowing that that is there, that is that far away. So that's a far distance, and there's some really nice potential. But again, we know resistance is a bit of a zone, could be anywhere here. But John is going to enter because John has had some good trades. He knows the coin is in a general overall uptrend. At that point, let me just show you guys as a reference again. Where was the 2 hour at that time? It was there, pivot bottom and a buy tag. 4 hour, no pivot bottom. Buy tag with nice green, neon green, knowing again there's a percentage potential. We said was like 30%. So candles are still looking pretty good. The 8 hour is not great, eh? I mean, you look at that, it's kind of sideways. But again, if you're going to enter a trade based on this, use a stop loss. If you're unsure, either don't trade it or trade with a stop loss. All right. So John, being exuberant and having being a little positive, John, having gotten in there off the pivot bottom and a buy tag, neon green candle, John decides to get back in again. All right. 8%, 7%, 10% stop loss as he did earlier. Okay. How far is that going to be? Is it going to be below that pivot point? That's way below. Okay. So John's like, okay, again, I'm going to 8%-ish. All right. And again, this is very similar to what Bob's actual trade looked like. I'm just going to make sure that we're not confusing. John's entry and John's stop loss about 8%. All right, there it is. So Bob got out back here where he had hit the stop loss. All right, so again, this is 7 o'clock in the evening. Bob's awake, and Bob's like, "Hey, John, I see I took some good profit. I'm not going to trade this anymore, but have some fun and go to sleep. Hopefully, it goes up for you." I'm like, "Yeah, I got my stop loss in place. This is what's happening in real time." All right, so John's at dinner. John's like hoping that this really goes up before he goes to sleep. And John's watching this. All right. A little bit of indecision. It's now 10 o'clock at night. John's gone to sleep, and the pivot top has come in, followed by a sell tag, and John's out. And that's what happens. All right. So I lost. Right. I thought the things were looking pretty good on the 8 and the 12 hour. Meanwhile, it's just going sideways. It's going through this what we call retracement. Is there still potential for this coin to still run on the 1 hour? Go. So John went to sleep. John got taken out. John's unaware. Why did it move all the way? Sorry, it forwarded in time. But yeah, John got taken out. Where was it? There we go. I don't know why it stopped the replay. Sorry, guys. Um, I'll just go back here just so we know what's happening. Okay. Went to sleep 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Stop loss is in place. I got taken out after that pivot top. No idea that it was happening. I'm out. It does happen. All right. It's midnight. In the meantime, Bob is watching this and he's like, feel sorry for John. Pivot bottoms come in. Is this still worthwhile trading or looking for a trade? I don't know. John said that the 4 hour, 8 hour, 12 wasn't great, but there's a buy tag and okay. And these are the things that you're going to encounter in real time until we are right now where we are in real time with this coin. This is where fun is right now on the 1 hour. This is what it looks like on the time frames right now for the 2 hour, for the 4 hour, the 8 hour. Candles are up above. Same for the 12 hour. Look at that. All right. Ideally, we'd like to see a pivot bottom come in for these time frames. The day is still a little indecisive. There's a pivot top, no sell tag. All right. Temporary, could blow past. All right. If a buy tag came in now, this is a neon green, but if buy tag came in now, potentially 43% away until that and could blow past. Would you rather wait for it to blow past? Probably. But this is where you guys, as an example, with fun, especially Hodlnots, yeah, might find support, might bounce. We might see some turnaround. Is where you're going to set your side alert. You got a pivot bottom and a buy tag. Are you going to wait for a neon green candle or a buy tag again? Or what are you going to wait for, knowing it could reach that or beyond? What are you going to do? If you're going to enter, where are you going to put your stop loss? What if it came in now with the neon green and it was here somewhere? You're going to put a stop loss there? Again, 8.6%. That's kind of roughly my zone. This is up to all of you to be able to then now start to look at these coins and start to be able to analyze them. We showed them now in real time. And apologies for going really over time. But this is where you can look for a couple of coins. Tut, right? GPS, Syrup. They're all new coins. Tut blew up. It's been running for the last couple of days. It's launched past its all-time high. There are coins that, while in the day you might have missed it, a couple of nice, long, strong trends on the day. There is potential as these coins are starting to shape up earlier on, where you can start to look at that 1 hour and start to build up and see where are the issues that you're encountering. So hopefully that's been of use. I saw a couple of reactions. Thank you for all of that. If a light bulb came on, please drop it in the Q&A section now. That'd be great to hear. And again, if there are any coins that you guys look at, nobody else dropped any coins to be looked at. So cool. But this is now an hour and a half session. I don't want to keep it too long. Hopefully this has shown you guys. And again, if I'll share my screen one more time, just to show you in real time where all those temporary tops came in, those temporary top pivots, right? On the 1 hour. I'm going to delete these very quickly. Sorry for the confusing narrations and stuff like that. But look at the number of temporary tops, all the blue tags, and let me just hide this for a second. That's what happens. Whether they were followed by a sell tag or not, or they just were there fleetingly and then disappeared. That's what we all experience when we're trading coins on whatever the time frame is. They can disappear, but it comes down to time frames and what those candles or prices are dealing with in terms of the 200 or resistance on those time frames, whether or not they will disappear or whether they will be painted and confirmed because the high time frames were rejected by the 200 or whatever it is. Time frames is key. Having a stop loss is key. All right. Constantly checking when you're getting in, right? How far below is my stop loss? Is it any better now that time has elapsed on the 1 hour time frame, as example? Is the 8 hour now better? Is the 12 hour now better? All right. Putting in a stop loss when you're going to say, moving your stop loss up a little bit. Don't be greedy. Make sure it's above your entry. And things will run when you're sleeping, and you might be in profit, you might not be in the trade, your alerts might have triggered, etc. But this is all the turmoil that you'd go through of the temporaries. And there are a couple of that just stay permanently painted. But this will happen. So don't fret if you're watching this video and you're like, all right, it makes sense, right? I need to check the time frames. This will happen. Move a stop loss, make a decision. Get out if you see the sell tag after the temporary top. But if it then disappears or breaks past with a side alert, breaks past that value, get in with the neon green, get back in again, or stay in, or take your profit out, keep your capital in, or vice versa. Hopefully, this has given you guys, and again, as I said, a bit of an insight as to the things that that you're going to come across and process. There are a couple of coins, like I mentioned, TUT, GPS, Syrup, and a bunch of others. Look for coins where they Hodlnots, you've got EMS to help you, but for those of you without it, look where the candles are starting to cross that 1 day 200, preferably with the 200 starting to go flat or lift up, and keep an eye on it and know that the lower time frames are pretty ready, but maybe the 8 hour isn't, or the 12 hour isn't, or the day isn't. But if that helped, uh, and it also made you feel that you're not alone in like all these challenges when it comes to all these temporary pivots and then it disappears and oh whatever. Hopefully this has given some insight into how you can manage it. But it does come down to time frames as to why the trend on the 1 hour might not continue if it's dealing with issues on the 8 hour, the 4 hour, the 12, the day, or whatever it is. Look for coins that are a lot more optimistic. And I have shown on previous calls as well that you might find a coin that's like 40% below the 1 day 200, but the other time frames are looking pretty good. That's okay. Just know that once it gets up to that 40% mark in and around the 200, you might encounter some real issues or whatever. So there are a multitude, but keep practicing, keep trying, and ask questions, whether it be in the lodge or on the very next HodlFire call.